Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Success Series, Tools to Build a Flourishing Life, presented by the Division of Continuing Education at the University of Colorado Boulder. I'm Jordan Manis, and I look forward to the opportunity to be your host today. And we dive into today's topic, the science of happiness, what really leads to feeling fulfilled in life. Again, I'm Jordan Manis, a certified life coach and the career advising specialist for the Division of Continuing Education here at CU Boulder. Thanks for taking the time to join us. So, are you feeling stressed, maybe a little bit overwhelmed in life? Maybe you're feeling confused as you sort through all the information about how to be more successful, how to be happier. Maybe you're asking yourself, where was the course on how to be happy and successful? Was it offered? Did I miss it? Well, we're happy you asked. And in fact, that question, how can I be happier? How can I be more successful? Is such a common question that we developed this webinar to help you in a concise way gather the science behind the answers to those questions so that you can start implementing them in your own lives and in your own career to be more successful. So in today's brief webinar, we will talk about the science of happiness. I'll tell you a little bit more about myself, but mostly we'll focus on what is happiness, why is happiness important, how does happiness actually happen, what does the science tell us, and then finally, and most importantly, what can we do to enhance our happiness and therefore our success as well. Tell you more about that coming up. So real quickly, a little bit about me. I'm a seasoned life coach and career counselor and instructor. For about 2 decades, I've been involved in this work at both UCLA and CU Boulder. I've written a booklet called Sail, Select an Ideal Life, your 59-minute guide to enjoying the journey of life. I'm also certified in the Myers-Briggs personality assessment and also a certified breathwork facilitator. In summary, I love this stuff. I'm an inspiration junkie, and my curiosity about how some people are flourishing in life and others are not really ignited my 2 decades worth of research into this topic, and I'm excited to share what I've learned in this webinar with you. So let's start out with defining happiness. A lot of people have a misconception of what we mean by happiness. And Dr. Sonia Lyubomirsky is the author of The How of Happiness, and she's out of UC Riverside. And her definition is important that we investigate because it says happiness, the experience of joy, contentment, or positive well-being, combined with a sense that one's life is good, meaningful, and worthwhile. So you'll notice that there are a couple different components here. One is the experience of feeling joyful, feeling content, having positive well-being, but it's also the way that one thinks objectively, looking back at their life, looking at their life currently and saying, yeah, my life is good, meaningful, and worthwhile. So there's a cerebral aspect to it as well. There's also a definition that comes from a book called Happy for No Reason by Marcy Shimoff, that I really like because it says it's an underlying state of peace and well-being, even when experiencing any emotion. And that's really important so that it's not the idea that when you're happy or you're fulfilled or you're flourishing, that you're skipping around whistling every single moment of every single day. You will, as a human being, experience a spectrum of emotions. But the key point of this definition is that there's an underlying state of peace and well-being, even when you are experiencing those other emotions that maybe aren't making you feel good in the moment, but knowing that you will be able to bounce back, that you have developed the happiness skill set that allows you to flourish in life, even if you do have times when you aren't feeling all joyful in the moment. So let's go back to you right now and ask yourself, are you flourishing? Where are you on this flourishing scale? So basically, what you do is you go through these 8 different statements and you rate yourself on a scale from 1, strongly disagree, all the way to 7, strongly agree. And I will say that this scale is best used with individuals without clinical disorders. So, individuals seeking to enhance an already relatively adaptive lifestyle. So, knowing that, if you want, you're welcome to pause this webinar right now and go through these statements. And again, 1, strongly disagree, all the way up to 7, strongly agree on these 8 statements. Number 1, I lead a purposeful and meaningful life. Number 2, my social relationships are supportive and rewarding. Number 3, I am engaged and interested in my daily activities. Number 4, I actively contribute to the happiness and well-being of others. Number 5, I am competent, capable in the activities that are important to me. Number 6, I am a good person and live a good life. Number 7, I am optimistic about my future. And number 8, people respect me. So again, you may want to pause right here and go ahead and take this little mini assessment, and then we'll move forward. And again, it's just a baseline to see where you're starting from. And now we want to talk about why is happiness important. And again, um, the research shows that people with high levels of well-being are flourishing in other areas of their life too. They perform better at work. People with high levels of well-being have more satisfying relationships, are more cooperative, have a stronger immune system, have better physical health, live longer, have reduced cardiovascular mortality, have fewer sleep problems, have lower levels of burnout, have greater self-control, and have better self-regulation and coping abilities. And as Shawnee Kaur, the author of The Happiness Advantage, puts it, happiness fuels success, not the other way around. So a lot of us think once we're successful, we'll be happy. But research is showing that once you have high levels of well-being, you actually are more successful in lots of different areas of your life. And so it's very important, not just to you feeling good, but to these other aspects of your life and also to society. I think Robert Louis Stevenson said it best when he said, there's no duty we so much underrate as the duty of being happy. By being happy, we sow anonymous benefits upon the world. So your happiness affects other people in tremendous amounts, in tremendous ways. And you've probably experienced this too, which is you walk into a room and someone with a high level of well-being is there and it's contagious, it's energetic. And the other way around can happen as well, as somebody can suck the energy out of the room who's maybe in a lower state of well-being. And so you're working on your own level of well-being is good not only for you, but for the world and others that you engage with. So how does this happen? How do you become happier? And we go again to Sonia Lyubomirsky and her research, which talks about something called a happiness set point, which is basically we have this level of happiness we tend to stay around, and we might get a boost, we might have something that knocks us down a little bit, but then we come back to that level that is our set point. And that set point is determined 50% of it, the science says, is by genetics. So you may have hit the biological lottery and you may have, have a very high happiness set point, or you may not. And that part you don't control, obviously. But the other 50% you do, and 10% about is from your external circumstances, which may be a head scratcher at this point. You say, really? Only about 10%? We'll get into the reasons for that in a moment. But most people put all their effort and energy into those external circumstances. If I just had the nicer car, the nicer house, the better job, the better spouse, you can add it up, the better clothing. Unfortunately, though, that really only impacts and raises that happiness set point by about 10%. So the other 40% comes from your actions and thoughts. And we're going to dive deep into that in a moment. And a lot of your actions and thoughts are habitual, and we'll talk about that as well. So that's really where we're going to end up looking to the science for how we can enhance our happiness set point by focusing on actions and thoughts. So let's go back to this idea that external circumstances only really affect our happiness set point by about 10%. Well, there's a lot of research that supports this, but there's a famous study from the late 70s out of Northwestern and UMass, and they looked at these groups of people who had big changes in their lives, recent lottery winners, and those who had a catastrophic accident who are now paraplegic or quadriplegic. And looking at those individuals, what they found was that after about a year, those individuals returned to their level, their happiness set point level that they were at before these events took place. So again, something as extreme as winning the lottery or having this catastrophic accident didn't affect in the long term somebody's happiness set point. And when we ask why, we go to this term habituate. And it's just because people become accustomed to something new and it just becomes their new norm. And what happens is there's a term called hedonic adaptation or the hedonic treadmill, which means we just need more and more and more to get a boost in that happiness. And we just get accustomed to things no matter how hard we try not to take things for granted. All of a sudden, that new, car becomes our new norm. And we need something even fancier to boost our happiness level. And it's just a treadmill. We're also not very good at predicting our future emotions and what events or what new things will boost or take away from our happiness. And so, knowing that, there's a lot of science about how the research shows that a shorter commute would actually make you as happy as a 40% raise, or getting a paid vacation from your boss would make you happier than receiving the cash, and having more free time will make you happier than having more money. And yet people often guess that it's going to be the more money that makes them happier. And we can get into the details of the science behind that at another point in time, but just recognizing we're not very good at predicting what's going to affect our levels of happiness. And that's why those external circumstances and focusing on that is really only going to change your happiness set point by about 10%. And so we've really got to change our strategy. And that's where we come back to thoughts and actions. And we'll start with thoughts. What are you thinking about? Because research shows that each day we have anywhere between 6,000 and 60,000 thoughts, and about 80% of those thoughts are negative thoughts. Not only that, but 95% of your thoughts are often repetitive, meaning they're the same thoughts you had the day before. So you can see why changing your thoughts can have such a significant impact on your average level of happiness. Our reptilian brains were wired to pay attention most to threats around us. As cavemen and cavewomen, it was important to constantly be on the lookout for saber-toothed tigers and other threats and dangers. But now we can train our minds to pay attention to the good that surrounds us instead, and to notice what is right in our surroundings. We can change our thoughts about the past, the present, and the future in order to greatly impact our level of happiness. So when it comes to the past, we can focus on what we're grateful for, looking back at all the things that have occurred in our lives, and thinking about how thankful we are that they did occur, and the good that came of it, or the sacrifice others made for us, or the good fortune we've had. We can also look to the future and cultivate optimism and implement a growth mindset, expecting good things to happen, expecting that the challenges that come will help us grow, and that we will eventually develop the skills or the types of habits that we need to be successful. You can also research more about these topics on your own if you'd like to learn about developing more gratitude or optimism or a growth mindset. But we'll also be working on future webinars in the Success Series, and you'll find those in our resource library where you can learn more about those topics. But also being more present is very important, and thinking about um, developing savoring and mindfulness strategies, because there's research out of Harvard about how 47% of the time people are not mentally where they are physically. They're daydreaming. They're thinking about other things. And unfortunately, there's a correlation between that and being less happy. And so learning how to be present, how to be mindful in what you're doing and staying in the present moment is another habit that you can develop that will really affect your level of happiness. And what about actions then? Your intentional daily actions have a big impact on your level of happiness. So many folks are sleepwalking through life, and research shows that over 40% of human behavior is habitual. So it's just habit. We're not even thinking about what we're doing. So we could start to mindfully go about our days, intentionally selecting actions and activities that have been proven to boost our levels of happiness. And we could start to see some significant change in our well-being. So this comes from a book called Flourish by Martin Seligman, the father of positive psychology. And he basically said there's these five categories where if you implement these five categories in terms of the actions you take to enhance your positive emotions, your engagement, your relationships, your meaning, and your achievement, what he calls PERMA, you will significantly affect your overall levels of flourishing. And so, yeah, positive emotions, we do need to do things that just give us a boost. Watching a funny movie, enjoying our favorite bowl of ice cream, getting a massage. There are certain things that can certainly help our positive emotions. But if we just focus on that, many people do, we're missing out on a huge amount of the things we need to be doing to enhance our overall ability to thrive. And so there's something called engagement, finding flow. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi introduced this and called it flow. And it's so gratifying. These are activities that are so gratifying that you're going to do it for its own sake rather than for what you'll get out of it. The activity is its own reward. Concentration is fully absorbed in the moment, self awareness disappears, and the perception of time is distorted. Basically, time disappears because you're so engaged in the activity that you're doing. And it's a great match for a challenge for your skills, but not too challenging and not too easy. And so this can be all kinds of different things. It can be an experience like a good conversation or some sort of work task you're really interested in, or playing a musical instrument, or reading a book, or writing, or building furniture, fixing a bike, gardening, all kinds of different things, surfing, snowboarding, just to name a few. Now, besides positive emotion engagement, our relationships are incredibly important. So investing time in enhancing the relationships with the people that care about you most and that you care about most. And so this is something that comes back to our survival being very, very important, excuse me there, as we look at history and how we have these social connections, and it's very important, but we also oftentimes neglect the most important relationships in our lives. And so knowing that it's the number one predictor of your level of happiness is the quality of your social relationships, it's important not to neglect them and to take some time, whether on your own or with the support of professionals, to enhance and repair those relationships. And then a sense of meaning, making sure that you're invested in doing things that are bigger than yourselves, things that make you feel like you're contributing to the good of society or others, or something that is important to you, like the environment or nature or whatever it might be. So having meaning in your life. And then finally, achievement, a sense of accomplishment, making sure that both you have some things you can look back upon in your life that you feel proud of, but also goals and the importance of knowing that you're working towards some of these goals and accomplishments that one day you will be looking back on and feeling proud of. So those are the key areas. And we're going to wrap up by just summarizing what we've talked about today. Number one, being happy is a skill that can be developed. And thinking about happiness as a skill, that it's something you've got to work on and continuously work on that. And you can get better at being happier and being happier 3 months from now, 3 years from now than you are right this moment. And then not really aiming to just be filled with positive emotions all the time, but really aiming to be fulfilled and flourishing and going back to the science and understanding what contributes to that, as we've talked about today. And then finally, pay attention to what you're paying attention to, training your mind to notice what is right in your situation and recognizing that gratitude habits or cultivating optimism takes work, but you can train your mind to start to notice those things more easily and then be more present in the moment. And then finally, invest your time in perma. When you think about the activities and the way that you're spending your time, are you getting a nice balance in those five categories and not leaving any on empty? Well, we hope you enjoyed today's webinar in the Success Series. Please take a look at our resource library as we continue to develop it and enjoy some more webinars in the Success Series, Tools to Build a Flourishing Life, brought to you by the Division of Continuing Education here at CU Boulder. See you next time.